Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Flight Podcast. My name is Jacob Shanker.
And I'm Andrew Thomas. A few days ago, the NFL released their top 100 players list for the NFL season in 2020. This list was made up by NFL players.
Andrew and I were very disappointed with this list. And to start off this show, we wanted to go on a little rant. And I want to start off, and by far, one of the major problems I have with this list is Carson Wentz not being on the list. I think it's terrible. I think it's ridiculous that he's not even on the list. Here are some notable players that here are some notable quarterbacks, that made it over Carson Wentz. Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, Josh Allen, and Kyler Murray. All of these players, I think, are much worse than Carson Wentz. They do not deserve to be ahead of Carson Wentz as a player. Carson Wentz is a top 10 quarterback, had 27 touchdowns, over 4,000 yards. He was able to help lead, one of the factors that helped lead the Eagles to be that successful team and that force that they were during the regular season and how well they did during the playoffs. So,
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on that?
I think that Wentz did get injured in that first game. I think that the Eagles would have definitely done better if McCown wasn't playing and Carson was.
Yeah.
I think that he led his team almost single-handedly because the Eagles had so many injuries, and yet they were still able to play out the Cowboys. And we could say that the Cowboys I think the Cowboys have a better team than the Eagles did in the 2019 season based off of injuries. And it just blows my mind the fact that they have Dak Prescott as 46 and Carson Wentz isn't even on the list.
Yeah.
That's what blows my mind.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think the thing you made about the Cowboys, I think as a team, I would say the Cowboys are a better team. But the only reason I say the Eagles are better than the Cowboys and why I think they'll do better in the 2020 season is because of Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is a much better quarterback than Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott is, in my opinion, I'm just putting it out there, I think he's the most overrated quarterback in the league.
Yeah, I think he's a very overrated quarterback. He doesn't know how to lead a team. He can't throw the ball that efficiently. He threw for 30 touchdowns, but at the same time, he also threw for 11 interceptions.
Yeah.
It's not a good ratio. So, and another thing is Tom Brady was 14th. How old is he now? He's 42?
42-ish.
So, do you want to rant about Tom Brady being on this?
Well, like you listed the notable players.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady, obviously. He is definitely, in my opinion, Carson Wentz is probably better than Tom Brady.
I agree.
I think Tom Brady's better than Dak, though. I think Tom Brady's still a great player, but he's like this list. I'm just going through it again. It's just mind-boggling. Like Deshaun Watson is also better than Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers is better than Tom Brady. Yeah, it's crazy.
I know. I agree with you, but yeah, I think Tom Brady deserves to be on this list. I just think,
Yes, without a doubt. I think he's still a top 50 player in the NFL.
yeah, I just think he's way too high. Does not deserve to be that high. All right. To move on with why I think this was a bad list, Larry Fitzgerald. Why is he on here? He's 36. He had 800 yards and 4 touchdowns. For a wide receiver, that's fine. It's not great. It's fine, but I don't think it's good enough for him to even be on the list. Sure, he's a very consistent player, but he was not a leading factor in helping the Cardinals. I mean, he really was not that good of a player and really did not deserve to be on the list, especially in front of players like Keenan Allen and Cooper Kupp, who I think are better wide receivers than Larry Fitzgerald and who I'd rather have on a team in the 2020 season. The next thing I want to talk about is I think OBJ is extremely overrated. Well, no, sorry. Let me rephrase that. I just think I think he's overrated. Not extremely overrated. I just think he's overrated. He he did not have that great of a season this season. I don't know if it's more Baker Mayfield, if it's more OBJ. I think it's probably more Baker Mayfield, but
I agree with you on that.
yeah, but still OBJ did not have a great season. One player that I think should be over him, who I think had a better season, is Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett had more yards and more touchdowns than OBJ. He doubled him in touchdowns. And I think Tyler Lockett is going to be more successful in the 2020 season because he has Russell Wilson, who's a top 3 quarterback. So he's going to be a better wide receiver over OBJ, who he's a great wide receiver, but Baker Mayfield is not a great quarterback at all. So, yeah. And
Uh,
so what else do you have to think about this list?
well, we talked about Tom Brady being too high. We talked about where is Carson Wentz, and we talked about Dak being overrated. Another problem, Ryan Tannehill, 68, absolutely not. Ryan Tannehill, in my opinion, is a top 40 player. He had Derrick Henry, but he led the Titans to the conference finals, the conference championship.
Yeah.
Against the Chiefs, and they had leads on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
The Titans had a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and they were not predicted to even beat the Patriots in the wild card. And Ryan Tannehill was great in the playoffs. Again, I'm also going to say Ryan Tannehill is better than Dak. There's nothing I can really say anymore. But
Yeah.
if I go into statistics, Dak will win that because Ryan Tannehill didn't play so many games. But Ryan Tannehill is better than a lot of quarterbacks on this list.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and the biggest problem of this entire list is the player at number 4, Patrick Mahomes. I don't care what you say, Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL.
Undoubtedly
Yeah.
the best player. One of the best players in the regular season, the best player in the playoffs. He came back from not just one, but 2 comebacks in the playoffs against the Texans, which I think that was one of the best games I've seen in all season, and against the 49ers in the Super Bowl, who he did incredible. He 100% led the Chiefs to the Super Bowl and to that Super Bowl win. He deserves Super Bowl MVP, and he deserves to be number 1.
Well, yeah, and watching that game against watching the Super Bowl, the Chiefs were down in some of that game, and he helped them get back. Like the running backs got them the touchdowns, but Mahomes was the one that obviously led them, and that was a great game, I gotta say.
Yeah,
and yeah, they were down by 24 in the Texans game in the playoffs.
Yep.
24. Mahomes,
I didn't think they were going to win that. I thought, Texans are going to win it, but bam, he came back somehow.
Yeah, I wish I had watched that game. I only watched like the third and fourth quarter, but Mahomes had 5 touchdowns that game. 5.
Unbelievable.
Mahomes is without a doubt the best player in the NFL. You cannot change my mind.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you on that. I agree.
Yeah. But since we had so many problems with this list, we're obviously not gonna dive into we're gonna give our top 100. We're just giving our top 10. So, Jacob, you want to give me your top 10?
Yeah. I'm gonna start with number 10. I got Derrick Henry. I think he's the second best running back in the league, right behind Christian McCaffrey. He led in rushing yards. He was tied for the most rushing touchdowns. And yeah, I think he led that Titans to the playoff run that they had. I think he did incredible against the Patriots. He did incredible against the Ravens. And he is insane. He's a truck. He's extremely strong. And I think he's number 10 for me. Who do you have for 10?
I had Derrick Henry at 10. Um, yeah, he was phenomenal in the playoffs. He had 2 games with 200 rushing yards plus.
Yep.
He was like just watching him. It's ridiculous. It was he played phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. Number 9, I got DeAndre Hopkins. I think he's the second best wide receiver. I think he's going to do great with Kyler Murray. I think both of them are going to do great together. I think Kyler Murray is going to do better than last season, especially now with DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
He was great in the playoffs. He was great in the regular season. He can go deep. He's very consistent, and I think he's an excellent player.
Yep. I have at number 9 Stephon Gilmore. Again, one of the best cornerbacks. He played for the Patriots, and he was doing great this season. And you could just see how he's locking up the receivers and how good he is on defense. Just watching him play, he's definitely the best cornerback in the NFL, without a doubt.
Who do you have at number 8? I just want to ask you before we get into it.
I have DeAndre Hopkins at number 8. I think Hopkins has better impact than Gilmore, but it's really close for me. But that was my final decision.
I disagree with you on that. I think the Patriots have a top 3 defense in the league, and I think the reason they have a top 3 defense is because of Stephon Gilmore. He is a unbelievable guarding every single player. He can stop every single player. He had 2 touchdowns himself as a cornerback. 2 touchdowns. How does that happen? How does that happen? And I think, yeah, don't get me wrong. I think DeAndre Hopkins is incredible. But I think impact-wise, Stephon Gilmore has more impact. I think he's a much better player because he's number 1 in his position. DeAndre Hopkins isn't number 1. He's number 2. But I think that Stephon Gilmore, for me, is number 8, and I think he's a better player.
All right. I also have him. One of the reasons that I have him up is that I think a wide receiver is more impactful than just a cornerback. Like, I think that if Gilmore was on the Cardinals, then I think they do worse than they would have with DeAndre Hopkins.
I mean, but think about it this way also. I really think the main reason why the Patriots even made the playoffs is because of their defense. Their offense was fine. Tom Brady was fine. Julian Edelman was fine. Their defense was elite. It's one of the best in the league. And who is leading that defense? Stephon Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got.
Yeah, well, you had a Stephon Gilmore at number 8?
Yep.
All right. Well,
who do you got for 7?
10, 9, 8. I had Christian McCaffrey. People do have him at 6. Like on this list, they have him at 6, but I think that George Kittle is better than him. I think George Kittle is George Kittle is obviously the best tight end. He can block, he can catch, he can run. He can do it all. And George Kittle was on a Super Bowl contending team. McCaffrey wasn't. Although McCaffrey was a god this season. And not taking anything away from him, I just think that George Kittle is better. It is hard to compare, though.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree with you about George Kittle. He best tight end in the league. I think he had an incredible season. But I mean, I put him at 7. And I say that because I really don't think that he deserves to be higher than someone like you said, Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, the 49ers did better, but the 49ers also had an elite defense, and they also had a great offense. The Panthers didn't have that. They didn't have a quarterback really to even lead them. Kyle Allen wasn't that good. He was mediocre at best.
Mediocre, yeah.
And it's extremely hard for a running back like Christian McCaffrey to try and lead his team. Like, yeah, we're talking about Derrick Henry, how he led his team in the playoffs, but they also had Ryan Tannehill who could help them. That's why Derrick Henry was also able to still be able to do well and win. Christian McCaffrey, I think he played incredible in the regular season. And with George Kittle, I think he also played incredible. But I really don't think that he is as good as a player as the other players I have ranked above him.
All right.
So,
Did you have Did you have McCaffrey at 6?
no, for 6, I actually had
Oh,
Thomas.
that's a little now that's a bit surprising to me.
I'll tell you why. If for Michael Thomas, I think, yeah, he was the most consistent player in the league. He had he had the most receptions. I'm pretty sure it was of all time in
Yep.
in a season. He played incredible though. I'm not saying that he didn't play incredible. He had an incredible season. He had great touchdowns. He was a great route runner. But the one thing I put Christian McCaffrey in front of him for one thing, and that's because Christian McCaffrey is the only player to have over 1,000 rushing yards and over 1,000 receiving yards, which I think is extremely impressive. Another thing is that he had 15 rushing yards and 4 receiving yards, which is extremely impressive for a running back. Christian McCaffrey is extremely elusive. He's strong. He's fast. Defenses can't stop him. But
Yeah.
that's the same with Michael Thomas. I mean, he's also like I said, an incredible route runner. He's an incredible wide receiver. He can catch the ball like almost all the time. But I just really think the one reason why I have Christian McCaffrey higher is because of those over 1,000 rushing yards and receiving yards.
Yeah, well, that is great. I just think that. Yeah, I think Kittle and Thomas are better than McCaffrey because of their team wins. But yeah, so I have Michael Thomas at 5, like you said, the most receptions in NFL history. He was just great this season. And yeah, for my lists, I look at one thing and I look at team wins, how good their team is doing, how good they're doing individually, and as a team combined are better than just individual.
I think
Yeah.
for this list, it's harder, especially if it's not a quarterback. I think it's harder to decipher how a team does well. Like Christian McCaffrey, the Panthers didn't do that well, but they also didn't have that great of a team. Christian McCaffrey was really one of the very few players that were great on that team. They didn't have a quarterback really to help lead them. Michael Thomas did. They had Drew Brees. George Kittle did. He had Jimmy Garoppolo. So that's what, but as an individual player, let alone how the team played, as an individual player, I think Christian McCaffrey played better.
All right. Well, yeah, let's get it. I got for number 4, I got Lamar Jackson. Like, he is the MVP and he's a phenomenal talent. I just think that the top 3 players are better than him. Like, MVP does not automatically mean the best player in the league. It's really hard. It's really hard to.
It doesn't mean best player in like total. Like, yeah, I still think Patrick Mahomes is the best player because of how he played in the playoffs. But I think Lamar Jackson is the best regular season player. He was the best regular season player last year. I think he'll be the best regular season player this year.
We'll see how he does in the playoffs.
I mean, yeah, we'll see how he does in the playoffs. But I think that he's going to be able, let alone team. Both the Seahawks and the Ravens are incredible teams. I think, for me, I have Russell Wilson at 4, right?
Yeah.
So, let alone teams, I think individually, I think Lamar Jackson is going to have a better season because he is going to.
I don't know about that, but that's going a little far.
No, I think he's going to have the type of season he had this year, possibly even better. I think he's going to be able to throw more with Marquise Brown. I think Marquise Brown is going to get more receptions this year and be not a breakout player, but he's definitely going to do better than last season. But I really just think Lamar Jackson is incredible, especially the fact excuse me, the fact with his over 1,200 rushing yards as a quarterback, which is nuts. There's not one quarterback that comes close to him. He's even, I'm pretty sure, in like the top 3 or top 5 in rushing yards in total with running backs, which is incredible. So he can pass the ball and he can run the ball and he can lead his team. So for me on my list, I got Lamar Jackson at 2.
Oh, wow.
But all right, let's move on to number 3.
Yeah.
3, I got Aaron Donald. I think he's the best defensive player in the league. He is a freak of nature on the Rams. He is incredible defensively. He helps their defense tremendously every single time he steps onto the field. It's tough for offensive lines to stop him, and I think he's going to be great next year.
Yeah, well, you can't add much to that. Best defender in the NFL. That's all you really got to say.
Yeah.
I also have him at number 3.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal.
Yeah. So I'm going to assume for number 2, you got Russell Wilson then.
I got Russell Wilson at number 2. He is, as a quarterback, he is great. Like, he was good in the playoffs and the regular season. He's a better thrower than Lamar Jackson, obviously not a better rusher. And I think that Lamar Jackson did lead his team to 14 wins. I still think, though, that Russell Wilson is a better leader. And I think that Russell Wilson is going to do better as a whole through the entire regular season and playoffs than Lamar Jackson.
The reason
this list can change with, it depends on how they do the season, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into this much because we did talk about Lamar Jackson versus Russell Wilson in our past episode. If you haven't listened to that, go check that out. But
it was awesome.
But one thing I want to say is that I think one reason that Lamar Jackson is going to do better is because this is only his 3rd year, and each year he's gotten, and from his rookie year to sophomore year, got tremendously better, and I think he's only going to get better. That's why I think he's at 2nd. And for 1st,
Patty Mahomes.
I don't think there's much to say.
Absolutely nothing.
If you
just
watch football,
watch it.
Yeah, if you watch football, you know he was incredible. And it's a disgrace that he was 4th. He 100% deserves to be 1st. And I think it's completely disrespectful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Feel free to comment down below what do you think about our lists and about the NFL Top 100.
See you guys next time.